Shou-Lao is the strongest card we've seen in Marvel Snap in an incredibly long time. He is going to absolutely dominate the meta until he inevitably gets nerfed. So if you've got Shou-Lao, or if you're wondering whether you need him, we're going to dive into the full review and go over some strong performing decks so you can take him onto the ladder and just obliterate the competition. Let's dive into it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Kicker of Elves here. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day. It is the new season, the new year in Marvel Snap, and we've got a new season pass cards. Shou-Lao, I'm probably butchering that, the Undying. On reveal, give the last character you played +3 power for each turn you played 2 or more cards at a 5/8 stat line. This card is just completely broken. Generally, I think every single season pass card that has come out that has given +3 power, Silver Surfer, Galacta, I'm blanking on others, but Elsa Bloodstone, I'm sure there's others in that same vein, have been broken and needed to be nerfed. This is very much one of those cases. So I think this is a 5-star card right now. If you're a player who normally gets the season pass, definitely do it early. I know there's some folks who are like, oh, I'll usually just wait around to the end. I don't really care about the gold. I'll just, if I'm gonna do it, I'll get it towards the end. Just retroactively get all those unlocks at once. And woo! Don't do that, because I have a feeling this card is going to be nerfed in a similar fashion as Mr. Fantastic First Steps. If you don't remember, he launched at a 2/2 and was in every single deck. And then early on in the following season, once he entered Snap Packs, was nerfed to a 3/4. I don't see this card staying this way for long. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful. If some of the rumors, or depending on what data sets you're seeing or stories you're seeing, if there's a narrative of like, oh, secondary's in trouble, blah, blah, blah. Don't know how real that is, but starting the year off with a good month, every business wants that. This is undoubtedly going to sell some season passes, and the card's incredible. And the decks that he goes in are very fun. I've been having a blast with him. At the time this goes up, the new season has only been live for less than a day, and we'll take a deeper look at the stats behind Shou-Lao when we do the next episode of Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans and take a closer look at the data once there's a bit more of it to go off of. But yeah, this card is fantastic. It pairs well with kitty, spells, skills, Merlin stuff, werewolf stuff, Silver Surfer. It goes into zombies. It goes into a lot of different decks, and those are usually the kind of signals that would suggest a card's going to get nerfed. Where it was like a card like Spider-Punk, which is a freaking excellent card, but realistically it doesn't go into everything. It needs some support. Shou-Lao given me kind of Elsa Bloodstone or Mr. Fantastic First Steps vibes, where it's like, okay, this goes into a ton. This goes into Kitty Pryde decks. This goes into Merlin Werewolf decks. This goes into Silver Surfer decks. This goes into Scarlet Spider Activate buff decks. Shou-Lao, Maverick is one of Shou-Lao's best friends, but this card makes Maverick look like Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb situation. Whereas Maverick sits on the board and is like, please, I really hope no one interacts with me. Shou-Lao just comes out, and as long as you're not getting Cosmode or Eliath, it's like, oh no, the last character I played. That's an important note. If you're playing a lot of skills, it still will target the last character play. You don't need to worry about your sequencing. If you on turn 3 play down Maverick, and then turn 4 you play 4 skills, just talking hypothetically, when you play Shou-Lao on turn 5, it will still hit the Maverick. This can do things where it's like, oh, looks like an opponent's closed off a location. They're capped power output. They play Shou-Lao and then buff that location with 9 power. This card is very easily giving +9, sometimes +12. Granted, you can't just throw this into a ramp deck. There are some deck building considerations, but those are very, very easy to work with. Just an absolute beast of a card. This card will get nerfed. It was data mined originally as a 5/10 that gave +2. After the season, they'll probably go back to that. They do have a precedent of like Elsa, and I believe Surtur. I forget about Surtur. I know Elsa Bloodstone was nerfed in her season. I don't know if this is going to be that polarizing, or if they're just going to be like, hey, let's sell the passes, and then once it's in Snap Packs, we'll nerf it next season. But sometimes they say don't start the show at the showstopper, and they have very much done that. So 5 stars. This is the best card they've released since Merlin. It's not even close. If you're going to get the season pass, get in now and enjoy it. Let's jump over to a couple of decks that are performing very well on day one. So if you're on the climb to infinite, if you've got Shou-Lao but haven't had a chance to play, you're starting off with advantage. See you in a second. Okay, we are over here on Untapped Premium. We are searching just for player rank 70 to 100. If people hit infinite last season, they all go back down to rank 75. We're not looking at just infinite data, and we're just sorting by game count and decks that have Shou-Lao in them. Just look at the stats on these. Decent sample size already because it's the season pass card and people are, there's been a lot of hype for it. But there's a deck with Majestic Wingbeat and Lockheed doing zombie stuff. Zombie stuff's great. I mean, you got to be a little bit afraid of Shadow King, but if you're not seeing Shadow King, this deck could rip. This Sentry version, this is the deck that Sizer was playing. I think Merlin Werewolf stuff is incredible with Shou-Lao, and it's a nice power piece. There was a lot of discussion of like whether or not we're going to keep a Nihilist Sentry, or at least a Nihilist in these decks, but just Sizer has, and the results have been very good. Wiccan stuff, I'm always going to be less excited about doing anything Wiccan related. Just in general, I don't care for Wiccan or its play patterns, but this deck's doing killer. More Lockheed. This is like an end of turn hybrid sort of thing. We don't have the Invisible Woman first step, so we've got Lockheed, we've got Athena, we've got Hydra Bob. This is the Scarlet Spider stuff where it's like, oh, if you pass that Shou-Lao buff on to Scarlet Spider and then send that card, activate the card afterwards, and you get the buffed like 412 or whatever, 411, 413, 14, whatever the math is hard apparently, card, that can be extremely strong. Even as we're getting down here, as we start getting like well below 1,000, I'm less confident in the data, especially since it's only been one day, but this Maverick variation here, very, very strong. Doing stuff with Maverick can feel finicky, but if you are able to Shou-Lao a buff onto Maverick and then pass it over to someone else, it can be really, really powerful. Here's where we're starting to see some more of the iteration that I think people were expecting with Shou-Lao over here in this other deck, also just called Sentry. I love the names from Untapped here, where we've cut the Annihilus. In this situation, we're keeping Mercury Cannonball. We've brought the Viper in just because if you don't draw into Merlin, there's no way to deal with the Hood and Sentry. Sometimes you can overcome, or excuse me, the Void from Sentry. Sometimes you can just flat out overcome the Hood with raw power from your Werewolf, what you're doing with Shou-Lao, but Sentry can kind of become unplayable unless you just block off that right location before, which can be done. But I wonder if stuff like this continues to percolate, or with the success that Sizer saw with his version of this, just straight up keeping the Annihilus and not doing Mercury Cannonball, if that goes in. I think Mercury Cannonball, very strong thing to be doing, but a lot of the problem with that is the really strong card or cards aren't being revealed until the very end of the turn right now. So yeah, those are some really strong decks you can start off with. We just went over 6 of them. I think any of these are going to be really powerful, and you should just go with the ones that you have with your collection. I don't think you should be, if you're missing a lot of the zombie cards, you don't need to just be like, I need to get all the zombie cards to do this. Like, this is just, these are still early stats. Look at these lists, be like, okay, I have most of the stuff for this, go with that. I have a lot of the Surfer cards, go with that, even though that's not on here. It's not as immediately apparent. Even if you have to do Wiccan stuff, you can go ahead and do that. But yeah, with that, that is our review of Shou-Lao. Those are some meta decks that you can use to hit infinite nice and early. I'm still on the climb myself. If you want more hard-hitting card reviews, in-depth deck guides, meta reports and analyses so you can get better and better at Marvel Snap, you're already in the right place. Hit that subscribe button. Kicker of Elves is here for all your Marvel Snap needs and the occasional really cheesy joke. We are so close to our 1,000 subscriber goal. That's going to help us monetize the channel, get a cut of that sweet YouTube ad revenue, and just help us keep growing. Thank you all so much for your support. Like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. Have you picked up Shou-Lao? Are you planning to pick up Shou-Lao? Do you think it's ridiculous that they're releasing a card like this that's so obviously strong and it needs to be nerfed? Let me know what you think. Until next time, I'm Kicker of Elves. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.